What's going on, y'all? It's Amy Nicholas. Welcome to the channel. If you're new here, I am a beginner day trader. This is month 5 for me, and I'm just sharing my journey, my day trading journey on this YouTube channel. So appreciate all the support, all the comments, all the likes. You guys are awesome. Basically, what is going on with me right now? I have had experience in the past of trading full-size positions. This is how I started back in December and into January. And when I started to experience losses and started to realize, hey, you need a stop loss. Things kind of changed, the market changed, and I realized I had to take a step back. So I've been trading small position sizes. I started out trading 1 share a piece, moved up to 2 share a piece, and now I'm fluctuating between 5 to 6 shares a trade, depending on how it's going. And today was an example of what worked from Friday on repeat. So Friday, I talked about this new thing I'm just basically gonna call scaling stop loss strategy. And basically I was reading a book and got an idea about trading to have different stop loss amounts as I scaled into a winning trade. So the idea, first of all, scaling into winning trades came from this book here, Best Loser Wins. And the idea of having different stop losses came from the playbook. And these two things combined have worked extremely well both Friday and today. Friday was just a practice day for me to test this theory. Today was a little bit more like, okay, let's keep going with it. And instead of doing what I did on Friday where I was practicing with 1 share at a time scaling into the trades, I did 2 shares today. So basically in today's session, it was about number 1, scaling into the position that was working. And number 2, having the stop losses set at different price points. So I focused on today 15, 25, and 30, I believe were my stops. I have several templates set up and I basically structured it so I could easily just hit, buy. The 2 shares are in there to buy, take profit. And by the way, I'm doing a 1-to-1 take profit right now just to work on this strategy, just to execute without overthinking it and to stick to my thing of being a scalp trader, which is just what's working for me. So yeah, I'm not looking to make huge gains, huge moves. I heard Ross Cameron say this on a YouTube short recently, and it kind of hit home with me. And it's the second time I've heard it, took 2 times to stick. And he said, the reason day traders lose money is because they're not doing what successful 1% day traders do. And he mentioned trying to go for these big gains. So for example, if you have a small account, and he was specifically talking to people trading with small accounts like myself, he said, you're trying to overlook the fact that these day traders who are winning and winning big, they're going for 10, 15, 20 cent scalp moves, right? On their shares. They're buying a lot of shares, but they're just going for these small incremental moves. And he's like pointing out that you are trading a small account and you think because of that you have to go for these big moves, 50 cents, 75 cents, $1, $2, whatever it might be, that you think because I'm trading less shares, I have to go for these bigger moves. And I was of the same mindset too, like in my first couple months trading. I'm thinking I'm only buying, so many shares. I got to make up for that with a bigger win. Problem is you get stopped out more. You lose the gains you might have had, maybe you get up into the green or you just straight go red, And what I found with these scalping strategies is that it's a lot simpler and a lot easier, and you're in and out of trades a lot faster, right? So let's break it down for today. What did I trade? So initially, here's another key fact. I learned from trading on Friday, just practicing on Friday, that it might be a good idea to not trade the open because obviously y'all have seen this. The open has been erratic, directionless, spiking all over the freaking place. Any little tweet, tidbit, news item that comes out can just sharply turn things around in a nanosecond. So I was, trading on Friday as a practice day. So I I just randomly sat down at the computer at 9:30 a.m. Pacific, which is 12:30 Eastern. And today I decided, with a little bit more planning, that I would wait minimum over an hour after the open before I even looked at the computer. So I didn't even sit down until it was about, I guess it was like 8:20 even. What was it? Yeah. So no, it was like not even 8 o'clock. So it would have been an hour. I think it was like an hour and 10 minutes after the open was by the time I actually sat down. And I'm looking at initially, I was kind of wanting to watch Apple because I knew the news over the weekend, the smartphones and whatnot were exempt from the tariffs for now. So I watched Apple's chart and I didn't like the price action. I didn't like that it seemed to be stuck in a range. It was kind of between the 9 EMA and some, support lines, and it just had very little movement in clear direction one way or the other. And I was like, no, this isn't a good setup. So I obviously, if you follow my channel for any length of time, I love to trade Tesla. And I trade that via ETFs, TSLR to go long, TSLQ to short it. And Tesla had been up all morning. What was interesting was when I gave it some time, because it was kind of trading in a range just like Apple. I said, let me give it some time. Let me see what happens. Just before, this would have been 11 a.m. Eastern time. Just before that time, Tesla started to show signs of reversal. So what I look for to enter my trades for quick scalp is I'm looking at the stochastic oscillator on the bottom here. This is a Robinhood chart. I trade on Thinkorswim, by the way, but Robinhood's charts are prettier, so I have it up over here. And what I saw was these lines beginning to point down. And basically, one of my clear-cut signals to enter the trade is when the signal line crosses the other line and points. And then I'm looking also at the price action. I like to think of myself a little bit as a tape reader because it served me well. I didn't really know what I was doing until I started reading books about that and studying price action and tape reading. But I'm looking at, these numbers fluctuating back and forth. I'm looking at the candles. By the way, this is a 3-minute chart I'm studying now. I switched from trading 5 to 3 on Friday, and I decided to just keep that. So I'm looking at the 3-minute chart. I'm watching the last candle close, and I'm looking at the current candle. Now, the current candle, before it finishes, is not so important to me as to what color it is. What's important to me is whether price action holds one way or another. And Tesla was showing signs of weakness. I was in the trade like over here. This was what was happening too. Nice, clean downward moves, clean bearish candles. And I got in somewhere around like 252, upper 252 on Tesla's price, 253-ish. And watched to see that there was continual like clean stair-stepping down candles forming. And I was watching, tape reading, the price action to signify that, okay, Tesla's not holding, 253 or whatever, it's flushing or whatever. And just watching that downward move. So those kind of things just basically gave me the green light. Let's short Tesla with TSLQ. So I get in TSLQ, and the way I've been doing these scaling stop loss strategy is I will buy, today I decided to buy 2 at a time, 2 shares at a time. And I had, actually, I don't apologize. I think I said the wrong stop losses earlier. I got in at a 15-cent stop loss, a 20-cent stop loss, and a 25-cent stop loss. So I'm just buy. Got my custom order template in Thinkorswim. This is an OCO, one cancel the other order. So what that means is if I buy in with this 15-cent stop, I'm also going for a 1-to-1. So I'm also trying to take profit at a 15-cent. And then I just, buy the 2, buy the next 2, buy the next 2. So I'm in the trade for 6 shares total. By the time I'm fully in, just for this particular trade, I started at 35.84, got in again at 35.86. And then it must have just fluctuated for a brief second and went down to 35.81 for my last entry. So what it ended up happening was because the third price that I entered in on was less, it had my take profit at $36 even and 36.07. So 2 shares executed at 36, 4 shares executed at 36.07 because they were the same stop, just because I got in at a lower price on that third one. So this trade took about 3 minutes. So I was in at 7:58 a.m. my time. So it's 8, 9, 10, 10, almost 11, right? Eastern, and then out 3 minutes later. And yeah, I just focused on the charts, made sure that, I didn't need to do anything in this situation, because it's really just like, let's put in these stops, let's see what happens. We got coverage, 15, 20, and 25, and they all executed green. And it took about a minute. I was actually red in the negative initially on the buy-in. And my kind of thing for scalping is it has to turn my way. The trade has to become profitable green within that first minute and a half. And that's about exactly where it was when it played out. And the stop losses were kind of like in the perfect place for where I wanted this trade to go, because I saw support on Tesla down kind of, a little bit further, but I was glad the trade just, executed, took profit. So I got $1.22 profit on that. So 6 shares, woohoo. And, I was kind of watching the charts, and I was like, do I go again? Got a green trade here. I could walk away. Cool. I said, let me just sit it out, see if there's another setup here. So still, the other one I was watching, by the way, was Palantir. So I was considering shorting Palantir with PLTD, which is the bearish ETF for that one. And I was like, a couple of times was really close to hitting the buy button on that. And Palantir was caught. This is where tape reading kind of helps, right? Palantir was caught in this price action where it was just bouncing back and forth between 10 and 20 cents. And it wasn't clear directional, like where it was going to go. And this is where Tesla was like making these nice clean moves. Palantir was like chop, 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 like right in there. And I was like, nah, this isn't clean enough for me to say go ahead. Even though the stochastic was pointing downward, it showed, significant signs of selling pressure. It was still a battle between the buyers and sellers. And I'm like, nah, let's stay away from that. So I looked again at Tesla, and Tesla had another leg down. So I'm like, okay, I get in again. Just before you see this orange line here, this was a support line. And my thought was, let's get in now before the support line where we have enough distance to come down to that support, and I can exit the trade if I feel like it's going to bounce off that support. So I get in on TSOQ again at 8:15 a.m. So this is like, like 12, 13, 14 minutes after the other trade. And I got in at 36.07. No, sorry, 36.87. I'm like, what does that say? 2 shares and 2 shares at 36.96. So it jumped very quickly. It was making quick moves here because those 2 buy orders were executed within 20 seconds of each other, and it jumped that fast. I didn't go for the third entry because I said it's getting really close to that support. Let's hold off. Let's see what happens on the support line. So I'm in the trade. It's kind of bouncing around of negative to break even. And then it starts to show the weakness, it's breaking down. So I believe on this one, let's see, got out. Yeah, I think 13, it was like a 20. I think I was in on a 20 and a 25 cent stop on these ones. And the 20 cent one went off as a take profit. So 1-to-1, right? 20 cents. And then the other 2 shares, once it hit that line, Tesla was showing that the stochastic was starting to kind of curl back up, and it looked like it was bouncing. And so my kind of thing is, if I'm not like super green into this trade, I'm probably going to exit, and just get out while I'm up. So that's what I did. I ended up canceling the last 2 shares, take profit order, exited with just a 3 cent gain on that one. That one I got out at 36.99. So you can see the other one I got out at 37.07, then 36.99. So it was starting to come back because TSLQ means it's going down. Tesla was starting to come back. So it was going against me. And, I put here that I had the stochastic signal line crossing up, which is kind of like definitely consider getting out now. And that support line where it looked like it was bouncing. And I was correct. What ended up happening later in the morning was it did end up falling again. But you can kind of see right here where it hovered. And that's where I was like, you know what, for my kind of trading, I'm more about like Like, you know, if it looks risky and we're just trying to scalp a little bit, we don't want to give back all that, you know, we're gaining. So I'm like, let's just get out. And then, you know, it took it some time, and I very honestly could have gotten stopped out anyways if I had stayed in that. But clearly it did have another leg down to keep going. And Tesla's like, you know, doing its thing ranging right now. But yeah, so that's second trade. Let's see, I got, it was green for 45 cents. But I only bought 4 shares instead of the 6 like I did on the first trade. So I was a little bit less into it. And then the total P&L for the day, $1.67. Woohoo! So yeah, a couple of things with today's trading that I thought, let me make note of this because it's important. One, I did meditation first thing in the morning before I even got out of bed. Just grab my iPad, put on my 10-minute meditation. By the way, you can check out my day trading resources down below in the comments or the description, where I list all my day trading resources. Anything that's helped me whatsoever in learning how to day trade or helping me to become more profitable, that's going to be in there. And one of the things I added recently was the link to the actual meditation video I use, which is called 3 Wishes Manifestation. Basically, focus on what you want. Think about what you know you're going after. Think about your dreams, and it's just a quick 10-minute meditation. It's great. The other thing was I was reading a couple of pages of Best Loser Wins right before trading, and there was something that really stood out. Tom Hogard, by the way, he's a high stake trader, so he's going for like big position size, and he's the one I learned, you know, scale. Well, he's kind of the second guy who reinforced this for me. Scale into winning trades. Ross Cameron was the first one that taught me this, but Tom really, I've really like honed in, you know, and just tried to be like this. But on page 190 in this book, I underlined something that I thought was really important for setting the tone today. He said, I am not just trading to make money. I am trading to push myself into those places where I am not comfortable. And I think about it like, wow, you know, trading will really show you what kind of person you are. And I have felt that many a times where it's like, this is hard, this is uncomfortable, this is, you know, all your fears, your worries, your doubts, your concerns are coming up as you're trading. You know, this is like natural human, psychological, emotional, turbulent journey, right, that you go through in learning how to trade. And I think to some extent you can master and you can get better. I don't necessarily believe that it will ever completely go away. You're always going to be working at it, right? You're always going to be refining and getting better. And a lot of that has to do with what's going on up here. So that passage, I just felt like it really stuck out. The other thing I did this morning before turning on the computer was I did a little prayer and just gave thanks, you know, like I have this opportunity. I can devote the time to learning how to day trade. I can structure my mornings how I want. I can sit at the computer whenever I want. I don't have anybody telling me what to do, when to do it. And I just, you know, was really thankful in that moment. Like, I get to do this. Not like it's stressful, worrisome, whatever. No, I get to do this. And when you take on that kind of attitude, it's like, wow, you know, how lucky am I? Because there's some people struggling, you know, that don't even have the money to trade. They want to, but they don't even have the money, you know, even a few $100, a couple grand, they just don't even have to be able to do this. And other people, you know, they're stuck at some horrible job they hate. They have to sneak out to trade or try to do it, you know, secretly or something. And it's just, you know, I just felt really grateful to be able to do it. So those were kind of things. And then an experiment I tried today, because I'm kind of like about, let's just try little different things here and there, little variable here and there to see what is an outcome. And the experiment I did was I listened to music, which I almost never do. Usually I'm sitting at the computer quiet. I used to listen to Bear Bull Traders live on YouTube. They're great guys, very, you know, knowledgeable, know what they're doing, excellent traders. But I decided, you know, I didn't want distractions. I didn't want to question trades I was getting in because maybe they were shorting and I was going long or, you know, just whatever. I just didn't want to do that, or even get in the caught in the trap of like mirroring their trades. I didn't want to be that person. So I was trading in silence, for all last week. And I said, you know what, let's just try music. Like, I put on a playlist or a mix that I've listened to many times. It's very uplifting. This group called Flavor Trip, they play like house kind of dance music. It's just positive, good vibes and things. And I was familiar with the songs, so it's kind of just like, zoning out, like uplifting, happy music. And that seemed to help to like just keep my focus. I don't know if it's because I was familiar with the music or, whatever. It just seemed to help. So, back-to-back green trades, starting the week green. I think it's all good stuff. So I thought, let me just share all these different things. Yeah, and that's pretty much what I had on my notes here. I'm just seeing if I had, like I said, I was watching Palantir, but Tesla was just showing clear signs, and I think whenever you can find that chart that looks the cleanest, take that one, right? Don't try to be like, well, I want to get in this one and I want to get in this one and maybe just go with the one that just looks more obvious as a good trade for your type of setup, your type of strategy than the other. So Palantir definitely later had the clean moves, but at the time, Tesla was in the winning for the, for my setup and for my strategy. So anyways, guys, hope you enjoyed the video. Feel free to check out my day trading resources down below. Like I said, description or comments, and you just put in your email and you'll get access to the Google document, which has all the YouTubers I've followed, specific videos that have helped me, the meditation I mentioned earlier, and specific books as well. So these books that I've got over here that have helped me on my trading journey. So stay green. I'll see you on the next one. Take care.